Hi, I'm Corey Joe Humphries or WeCJ and welcome to Commander class. In today's class we'll be talking about what is a commander and how it influences the game and the many different types of commanders you can have, because in previous classes I've just been saying commander, so most people just think it is the one card. However, there's many different variations of commanders you can have. So firstly I will be explaining what is a commander. Your commander is a permanent card that everyone can see. Out of the 100 cards you have, the 99 are usually placed upside down so you cannot see them, but your deck is usually structured around this one card. When it comes to commander, you usually have 100 cards, with your library being 99 of them and your commander being one that all your opponents can see. So when you are playing, your commander is usually the card that your whole deck is structured around, so depending on what your commander does and the colours of your commander is what you should have in your deck. So for example, if you have a green-blue deck, you're not allowed to have a red in your library at all. When playing, your commander goes in the command zone, which is usually located in a few areas. Some people put it just slightly above their deck, some people slot it slightly in their deck but still visible, or they place it in the center of the table so everyone can see. There are many different ways you can do it, many different players do it in different ways. It is up to you and your play group of how you show who your commander is, but the rule is it has to be visible at all times or able to be seen at all times. When it comes to the command zone, the rules of it is that you pay the mana to cast your commander, and when it dies or exiles or is moved from the battlefield to anywhere, you as the player get to choose if you wanted to go to the graveyard or you can put it into the command zone. However, the rule with commander is that every time your commander hits the command zone in a game, you have to add 2 generic mana to casting your commander. So for example, if your commander costed a blue, red and 2 and it dies and you put it in the command zone, the next time you play it, it will be blue, red, 2 and then an additional 2, and this stacks. So every time your commander dies, it gets +2 added on to its mana cost. So as I said previously, depending on your color identity of your commander is what is allowed in your library. So if you have a pure green commander, you're allowed to play colorless or green spells in your library. And the color identity are the pips, which are the 5 colors of magic. So the 5 pips are somewhere located on the card. And if you don't understand fully what I'm trying to say here, in the previous class I do go over the 5 colors and other colors of commander, so please go check that out. And the last bit of information when it comes to your commander itself is commander damage. So when you're playing Magic the Gathering, everyone has a life total of 40. However, there's a few decks that whenever you gain lifelink, it's based on lifelink, you end up having hundreds and possibly thousands of life. So to get over this, they done commander damage. So your commander, when you play it, whatever the name of the commander is, if it attacks and does over 21 damage, that person is out of the game. However, there is other ways where if I attack you, for example, and do 15 damage, and then I steal your commander and do 21 damage, you lose by your own commander, and the damage is separate. So the damage of the commander is based on the name of the card, or the card itself, or the permanent, whichever you prefer. So it's not the total, it's not the 15 damage plus the 21 damage you lose, it was the straight out 21 damage from a commander. So the next section I will be talking about is the different types of commander that you can play. So even if you're new or old to this game, you might be a little bit confused with this section, because me doing research in it, when I think of commander, I think of, yeah, that's your commander, yeah, that's playable. I never realized how many different versions there are of commanders. So for the next section, I will be mentioning every single type of commander. I'll be giving examples of 3 or 4 and sometimes a Wooburg example of commanders in that type. So the first one and the most common one that is used when it comes to commander is a legendary creature. So on the card in the center, there's a thin bar under the picture and above the text. It would say legendary creature and then whatever creature type it is. So as long as your commander is a legendary creature, that is the rules. So if it just says creature, you cannot. Or any other card like enchantments, artifacts, instants, sorceries. Your commander has to be a legendary creature. So the main reason it has to be a legendary creature, I think, I'm not 100% sure, so if I am wrong, please let me know in the comments down below, is that when it comes to a legendary creature, they're usually very good, and there is a rule in Magic the Gathering called the Legendary Rule. And yes, because the game's been out so long, there's different ways to get over this. But I think, personally, the main reason it has to be a legendary creature is because of the Legendary Rule. And the Legendary Rule is if you have two permanents of the same name that are both legendary, one has to go. So it's one of those things where if you play your legendary commander and you just copy it with no other spells, no other ways, no legendary rule gone, one of them has to go. So I think it makes it easier. Also, there's less of them because if you're allowed to just do normal creatures, it will get out of hand with the amount of rules and all of that when it comes. And then also when it comes to making cards, I think that wizards themselves go, this will be too powerful as a commander, we will drop it down to a creature, and then vice versa, where it's like, this is weak, but it has a cool ability that could be strong, so we'll give it a legendary status to make it a really good commander. So when it comes to legendary creature commanders, I will be giving you 3 examples of a monocolor, a dual color, and a tricolor commander that are very well known when it comes to Magic the Gathering players, and here they are on screen now. Kranko Mob Boss. For 2 and 2 red, you get a legendary creature, Goblin Warrior, that is a rare. It has tap. Create X 1/1 red goblin creature tokens where X is the number of goblins you control, and he is a 3/3. The Scarab God. For 3 blue and a black, you get a legendary creature god that is a mythic. At the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent loses X life and you scry X where X is the number of zombies you control. 2 blue and a black, exile tag a creature card from your graveyard, create a token that's a copy of it except for it's a 4/4 black zombie. When this Scarab God dies, return it to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step, and it is a 5/5. Calier of the Vast. For 1 red, white, and a black, you get a legendary creature, human cleric that is a mythic. She has flying, and whenever Calier of the Vast attacks an opponent, you may put an angel, demon, or dragon creature card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking that opponent, and she is a 2/2. So the second part I will be talking about when it comes to the Magic the Gathering Commanders is a double-sided card. So if you don't know, which you probably do, that Magic the Gathering cards have a back and they all look the same. However, some cards flip or do other variations of things and they're allowed to be your commander. So the best example for one of these is a really good commander is a Gruul, which is red-green for all you new players, commander that is a human on one side and a werewolf on one side, and they've made an entire 2 sets with 2 different ways to flip your commander, which are usually in the 2 werewolf sets. So one is if someone plays 2 or more spells, it flips, or if someone plays no spells, it flips, and then the other one is a day and night cycle that they added in recently. So when it comes to Magic the Gathering legendary commanders, there are flip creatures. Some flip into other creatures, so as I just said, human to werewolf. However, there are very rare few that become like enchantments as well. So I'm going to give you 2 examples, one of a creature to a creature and one from a creature to an enchantment. And here they are on screen now. Ulrich of the Crawling Horde. For 3 red and a green, you get a legendary creature, human werewolf that is a mythic. Whenever this creature enters the battlefield or transforms into Ulrich of the Crawling Horde, target creature gets +4/+4 until end of turn. At the beginning of each upkeep, if no spells were cast this turn, transform Ulrich of the Crawling Horde, and he is a 4/4. Ulrich Uncontested Alpha, legendary creature, werewolf that is a mythic. Whenever this creature transforms into Ulrich Uncontested Alpha, you may have it fight target non-werewolf creature you control. At the beginning of your upkeep, if a player casts 2 or more spells last turn, transform Ulrich Uncontested Alpha, and he's a 6/6. Jacob Hawken Inspector. For 1 and a blue, you get a legendary creature, human advisor that is a mythic. Tap, draw a card, then exile a card from your hand face down. You may look at that card as long as it remains exiled. You may pay 4 and 2 blue. If you do, transform Jacob Hawken Inspector, and he is a 0/2. Hawken's Insight, a legendary enchantment that is a mythic. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library face down. You may look at that card as long as it remains exiled. Once during each of your turns, you may play a land card or cast a spell from among the cards exiled with this permanent without paying its mana cost. The next double face commander cards that you can have are planeswalkers. So when it comes to commanders, they're usually legendary creatures on one side, and on the other side is their planeswalker form. So when it comes to Magic the Gathering, they are very different and very rare and very like wide gaps of flip cards, especially flip cards that flip into planeswalkers. So the best thing I can do is give you 3 examples. One of the Magic Origins, where it's a creature and it shows how they become a planeswalker. The next one being a big bad and one of the most famous characters in Magic the Gathering that has a creature side that flips into a planeswalker side. And then a very new planeswalker that not many people like that had a human form in one of the sets. And here they are on screen now. Kythelian Hero of Akros. For a white, you get a legendary creature, human soldier, that is a mythic. At end of combat, if Kythelian Hero of Acheon and at least 2 other creatures attack this combat, exile Kythelian, then return him to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control. Tap 2 on white, Kythelian gains indestructible until end of turn, and he is a 2/1. Gideon Battleforged, a planeswalker Gideon that is a mythic and starts on 3. +2, up to 1 target creature an opponent controls attacks Gideon Battleforged during its controller's next turn if able. +1, until your next turn, target creature gains indestructible, untap that creature. 0, until end of turn, Gideon Battleforged becomes a 4/4 human soldier creature with indestructible that is still a planeswalker. Prevent all damage that will be dealt to him this turn. Nicobolus the Ravager. For 1 blue, black and a red, you get a legendary creature, Elder Dragon, that is a mythic. He has flying. When Nicobolus the Ravager enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card. For 4 blue, black and a red, exile Nicobolus the Ravager, then return him onto the battlefield transformed under his owner's control. Activate this only anytime you can cast a sorcery, and he is a 4/4. Nicobolus the Artisan, a legendary planeswalker bolus that is a mythic, starts on 7 loyalty, +2, draw 2 cards, -3, Nicobolus the Artisan deals 10 damage to target creature or planeswalker, -4, put target creature or planeswalker card from your graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. Then -12, exile all but the bottom card of target player's library. Valki, God of Lies. For 1 in the black, you get a legendary creature, God that is a mythic. When Valki enters the battlefield, each opponent reveals their hand. For each opponent, exile a creature card they reveal this way until Valki leaves the battlefield. X. Choose a creature from exile with Valki with converted mana X. Valki becomes a copy of that card, and he is a 2/1. Tybalt, Cosmic Imposter. For 5 black and a red, you get a legendary planeswalker Tybalt that is a mythic. It starts on 5 loyalty. As Tybalt enters the battlefield, you get an emblem with you may cast cards from exile with Tybalt Cosmic Imposter, and you may spend mana as though as mana of any color to cast these spells. +2, exile the top card of each player's library. -3, exile target artifact or creature. -8, exile all cards from your graveyard and add 3 red mana. And then finally, when it comes to this section, I will be talking about Meld. So Meld is a thing that is very old or quite old, depending on how you feel when it comes to how long you've been playing. But they've also recently brought it back in the newest Brother War set, which is Meld. So Meld is kind of like a double-sided card. However, on the back, there is half a card. So the original Meld commanders were 2 white angels, and you can only have one of them as your commander, and the other one would then be slotted into your library. And it's one of those things that when you get both on the field and meet the right circumstances, both of them flip to one half of a card and the bottom half of the card, that you get to meld them together, and that is a really powerful card. However, when it comes to the newest Brothers War set, there's 3 creatures and then rather a land or an artifact or something. So you can only have the creatures your commander, and then the second half of the meld in your library, you didn't get a choice of the 2 creatures, which I actually prefer. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. So, when it comes to a meld commander, there is technically 4, but one of them is 2 halves, so you get to choose. So I'll be putting them on screen now, and then asking what you think would be the best commander out of the 5, depending on how you feel. Gisela the Broken Blade. For 2 and 2 white, you get a legendary creature, Angel Horror, that is a mythic. She has flying, first strike, and lifelink. At the beginning of your end step, if you both own and control Gisela the Broken Blade and a creature named Bruna the Fading Light, exile them, then meld them together into Bishrella Voice of Nightmares, and she's a 4/3. Bruna the Fading Light. For 5 and 2 white, you get a legendary creature, Angel Horror, that is a rare. When you cast Bruna the Fading Light, you may return target angel or human creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It has flying and vigilance and is a 5/7. Urza, Lord Protector. For 1 white and a blue, you get a legendary creature, Human Artificer, that is a mythic. Artifacts, instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less. Tap 7. If you both own and control Urza, Lord Protector, and an artifact named the Might Stone and Weak Stone, exile them, then meld them into Urza Planeswalker. Activate only as a sorcery, and he is a 2/4. Mishra, claimed by Gix. For 2 black and a red, you get a legendary creature, Phyrexian Human Artificer, that is a mythic. Whenever you attack, each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the number of attacking creatures. If Mishra, claimed by Gix, and a creature named Phyrexian Dragon Angel are attacking, and you both own and control them, exile them, then meld them into Mishra, lost to Phyrexia. It enters the battlefield tapped and attacking, and it is a 3/5. Titiana, Voice of Gaia. For 1 and 2 green, you get a legendary creature, Elemental, that is a mythic. She has reach. Whenever 1 or more lands are put into your graveyard from anywhere, you gain 2 life. At the beginning of your upkeep, if there are 4 or more land cards in your graveyard, and you both own and control Titiana, Voice of Gaia, and a land named Argoth Sanctum of Nature, exile them, then meld them into Titiana's Gaia's Incarnated, and she's a 3/5. So that is the second section of what you can have as your commander. The third section we'll be talking about when it comes to what you can have as your commander is one of my favorite types of cards. You probably realize because I mentioned them a lot, are Planeswalkers. Now don't get this confused with the flip Planeswalkers. This is just pure Planeswalkers that do have a back. When it comes to commanders that you can have as Planeswalkers, there is one main rule, which is at the bottom there should be a text saying this Planeswalker can be your commander, or some form of variation of that sentence. When it comes to release stuff, when it comes to stuff like this, you can actually buy commander decks that are Planeswalkers, that the commander of the deck is a Planeswalker, and some of them are super famous. So like Lord Windgrace is one of the most famous Planeswalking commanders in Magic the Gathering, but there's also other variant types. So they released like 3 color commander decks. They used to release a commander set, 5 commander decks every year, with a Planeswalker in some of them being, or a commander in some of them being a Planeswalker. So you can buy a 3 color one and you can buy a 1 color one. And then recently, especially in the D&D set, so they did release cards that are able to be commanders from the set recently too. And I hope they actually continue on this myself. Lord Windgrace. For 2 black, red, and a green, you get a legendary Planeswalker Windgrace that is a mythic. He starts on 5 loyalty. +2, discard a card, then draw a card. If a land card was discarded this way, draw an additional card. -3, return up to 2 target land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. -11, destroy up to 6 target non-land permanents, then create 6 2/2 green card warrior creature tokens with Forest Walk. Lord Windgrace can be your commander. Teferi, Temporal Archmage. For 4 and 2 blue, it's Planeswalker Teferi and it's a mythic. It starts on 5 loyalty. +1, look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand and the other at the bottom of your library in a random order. -1, untap up to 4 target permanents. Or -10, you get an emblem with, you may activate loyal abilities of Planeswalkers you control on any player's turn anytime you could cast an instant, and Teferi Temporal Archmage can be your commander. Tasha, the Witch Queen. For 3 blue and a black, you get a legendary Planeswalker Tasha that's a mythic. She starts on 4 loyalty. Whenever you cast a spell you don't own, create a 3/3 black demon creature token. +1. Draw a card. For each opponent, exile up to one target instant or sorcery card from that player's graveyard and put a page counter on it. -3. You may cast a spell from among the cards in exile with a page counter on them without paying the mana cost. Tasha the Witch Queen can be your commander. So the next section I will be talking about does get a little bit confusing, especially because the set after, they are very similar. However, there is a few changes that makes it very difficult to kind of variate the two. So I'm going to try and make this as easy as possible when it comes to these being your commanders. So the first part of the two confusing parts is partner. So partner cards is the first time you're able to have two commanders. However, they're again all legendary creatures, but at the very bottom it will have the keyword partner, or somewhere located on the text box of the card it would have the word partner. When it comes to partner, there is a very strict rule, is that both commanders have to have partner, and then both cards, whatever color identity they are, is the color identity of your entire deck. So for example, if you have one partner that is red and one partner that is blue, your deck is it or red-blue. Not just red, not just blue. That's the one good thing about this. And it's very good because they made a load of them, so it was really good to mismatch cards. And some of them had also two colors, so you can have a 4-color partner commander deck. When it comes to partner commander decks, I will be giving you examples of cards singularly. It's up to you what other partner you would want, or if you find other your commander, and then you get to mix and match them yourselves. If you want, I will actually do a full class on partner if you would like further on. Just let me know in the comments down below. And when it comes to partner commanders, here they are on screen now. Chroma, Vision of Ixidor. For 5 and 2 white, you get a legendary creature, Angel, that is a mythic. She has Flying, First Strike, Vigilance, and Trample. At the beginning of each combat until end of turn, each other creature you control gets +1/+1 if it has Flying, +1/+1 if it has First Strike, and so on for Double Strike, Death Touch, Haste, Hexproof, Indestructible, Lifelink, Menace, Protection, Reach, Trample, Vigilance, and Partner. She also has Partner and is a 6/6. Sakashima of 1,000 Faces. For 3 in the blue, you get a legendary creature, Human Rogue, that is a mythic. You may have Sakashima of 1,000 Faces enter the battlefield as a copy of another creature you control, except for it has Sakashima of 1,000 Faces other abilities. The legendary rule doesn't apply to permanents you control. He has Partner and he is a 3/1. Armix Filigree Thrasher. For 2 in the black, you get a legendary artifact creature, Golem, that is an uncommon. Whenever Armix Filigree Thrasher attacks, you may discard a card. When you do, target creature defending player controls gets -X until end of turn, where X is the number of artifacts you control plus the number of artifact cards in your graveyard. It has Partner and is a 3/2. Kedis, Emberclave Familiar. For 1 in a red, you get a legendary creature, Elemental Lizard, that is an uncommon. Whenever a commander you control deals damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to each other opponent. It has Partner and is a 1/1. Anara, Wolfid Familiar. For 3 in a green, you get a legendary creature, Wolf Beast, that's an uncommon. As long as it's your turn, commanders you control have Indestructible. It has Partner and is a 4/4. While we're still on the part of Partner, they did release in Commander Legends 2 Planeswalkers that at the bottom say Partner. So you're allowed to use them as your partner when it comes to Commander. So you can have one creature and one of the 2 Planeswalkers that say Partner at the bottom, and here they are on screen now. Jessica, Thrice Reborn. For 2 in a red, you get a legendary Planeswalker, Jessica, that is a mythic. She starts on 0. Jessica Thrice Reborn enters the battlefield with a loyalty counter on it for each time you've cast your commander from the command zone this game. 0. Choose target creature. Until end of turn, if this creature will deal combat damage to one or more of your opponents, it deals triple that damage to that opponent instead. -X. Jessica Thrice Reborn deals X damage to each of up to 3 targets. Jessica Thrice Reborn can be your commander, and she has Partner. Tavesh Savet, Doom of Fools. For 4 in the black, you get a legendary Planeswalker, Savet, that is a mythic. He starts on 4 loyalty. +2, create 2/0/1 Black Thull creature tokens. +1. You may sacrifice another creature or Planeswalker. If you do, draw 2 cards. Then draw another card if the sacrificed permanent was a commander. -10. Gain control of all commanders. Put all commanders from the command zone onto the battlefield under your control. Taverset, Doom of Fools, can be your commander, and he has partner. So this is where it gets a little confusing, so if you ever need help, please comment and I will help as much as I can, or if you want, I will do a completely separate class on it. I'm just trying to run through the basics of what your commander can be. So the next section I will be talking about is partner with. So when it comes to partner with, on the card somewhere, it will say partner with and then a name. So when it comes to this, you can have 2 cards as your partners. However, it has to be whatever the second card is. So for example, there will be 2 creature cards that will say they're partnered with, and then it would say the opposite card's name. So you cannot just have a partner with blank and then a normal partner card. They have to be partnered together. However, there is a rule when it comes to partner with, that if you have we'll say a 4-color deck with a different commander, and you have the 2 partner cards in your library, if you play one, you're allowed to search your library for the partner with card and put it into your hand. So it's kind of a tutor with partner with, as long as they're both in your library. If you don't know what tutor is, it just pretty much just means search your library for a card that you want and put it into your hand or on top of your deck. There's many different rules for tutor, and don't worry, I will be going on and doing a class about tutor myself. So when it comes to partner commanders, I will be giving 2 examples because I'm pretty sure it's easy enough to understand once you get your head around it. And again, like always, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Brallin, Skyshark Rider. For 3 in a red, you get a legendary creature, human shaman, that is a mythic. Partner with Shabraz the Skyshark. Whenever you discard a card, put a 1/1 counter on Brallin Skyshark Rider, and it deals 1 damage to each opponent. Tap a red. Target shark gains trample until end of turn, and she's a 3/3. Shabraz the Skyshark. For 3 white and a blue, you get a legendary creature, Shark Bird, that is a mythic. Partner with Brallin Skyshark Rider. It has flying. Whenever you draw a card, put a 1/1 counter on Shabraz the Skyshark, and you gain 1 life. For hybrid mana of a white or blue, target human gains flying until end of turn, and it is a 3/3. Karzur Ruthless Stalker. For 3 in a green, you get a legendary creature, human warrior, that is a mythic. Partner with Urkum Stalking Shadow. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, put a 1/1 counter on that creature, and he is a 3/3. Urkum Stalking Shadow. For 1 blue and a black, you get a legendary creature, Whale Wolf, that is a mythic. Partner with Kazur Ruthless Stalker. Urkum Stalking Shadow can't be blocked. When Urkum leaves the battlefield, it deals X damage to target player and you gain X life, where X is its power, and it is a 2/2. Also, when it comes to partner with, there is 2 cards that are planeswalkers that are brother and sister that make a really good Izzet deck, and here they are on screen now. Rowan Kenrith. For 4 and 2 red, you get a legendary planeswalker, Rowan, that is a mythic. She starts on 4 loyalty. +2. During target player's next turn, each creature that player controls attacks if able. -2. Rowan Kenrith deals 3 damage to each tapped creature that player controls. -8. Target player gets an emblem with whenever you activate an ability that isn't a mana ability, copy it. You may choose new target for the copy. Partner with Will Kenrith. Rowan Kenrith can be your commander. Will Kenrith. For 4 and 2 blue, you get a legendary planeswalker, Will, that is a mythic. He starts on 4 loyalty. +2. Until your next turn, up to 2 target creatures each have power and toughness 0/3 and loses all abilities. -2. Target player draws 2 cards until the next turn. Instant and sorceries and planeswalker spells that player casts cost 2 less. -8. Target player gets an emblem. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, copy it. You may choose a new target. Partner with Rowan Kenrith. Will Kenrith can be your commander. So now there is only 2 more versions of commanders that you're allowed to have in Magic the Gathering, and one of them is only been in 1 set, and really personally one of my favorite sets. So I didn't really use a lot of this version of commander myself. So if you've been playing Magic the Gathering, you probably already know what I'm going to say. It's Companion. So Companion was one of those things that they tried I'm pretty sure they didn't do a good job. I don't see a lot of companion decks anymore, and it's very complicated, and a lot of new players kind of stay away from it, which I completely understand. So companion is a companion to your commander. So for example, if you have a pure green deck, I'll use for an example, and your deck does the companion rule, you're allowed to have this card as your companion. Now you're probably thinking, what is a companion rule? So companion is in the text box, it will say the word companion, and then it would have the clause needed for that card to be your companion. So for example, just from the top of my head, I know that one of the cards says you're not allowed to have a card in your library other than a basic land or lands that is conversion mana 3 or more. And then there's one that does the opposite, there's one that does odds, and then there's one that does evens. So as long as your library hits that ruling, you're allowed to have that card as your companion, which is really good because it makes your deck have to be a certain way, which makes it a bit more difficult to build. However, you get an additional color or two, and hopefully your deck becomes more powerful that way. So if you're still confused when it comes to how companion works, I will give a few examples of cards on the screen, and then hopefully you'll understand by reading the card what I meant by it can be your companion. And yes, if you are thinking, the commander rule or the commander tax rule does apply. So if you do play it from the command zone and it does die, it does get a +2 stacked on for every time it dies. Gyruda, Doom of Depths, for 4 and 2 hybrid mana of a blue and black, you get a legendary creature, Demon Kraken, that is a rare. It has companion. Your starting deck contains only cards with even converted mana cost. When Gyruda enters the battlefield, each player puts the top 4 cards of their library into their graveyard. Put a creature card with even converted mana cost from among these cards onto the battlefield under your control, and it is a 6/6. Zirda the Dawnwalker, for 1 and 2 hybrid mana of a red or white, you get a legendary creature, Elemental Fox, that is a rare. It has companion. Each permanent card in your starting deck has an activated ability. Abilities you activate that aren't mana abilities cost 2 less to activate. This effect can't reduce the mana in the cost to be less than 1 mana. Tap 1 and it, target creature can't block this turn, and it is a 3/3. So we are finally on the last bit of what can be your commander when it comes to Magic the Gathering, and it's a new thing that came out in Baldur's Gate, which is kind of a mixture between partner and companion, which is backgrounds. So when it comes to backgrounds, it comes into 2 sections. One is a legendary creature that says on the card, choose a background. So you can have any color of these. I'm pretty sure from the top of my head, they're all monocolored, but as long as it says choose a background, that can be your companion because all of them are legendary creatures. And I will give an example of one of each color of commander that says choose a background on it. Abdel Arden's Guardian's Ward, for 4 and a white, you get a legendary creature, Human Warrior, that's an uncommon. When Abdel Arden's Guardian's Ward enters the battlefield, exile any number of other non-land permanents you control until Abdel Arden leaves the battlefield. Create a 1/1 white creature token for each permanent exile this way. Choose the background, and he's a 4/4. Gale, Waterdeep Prodigy, for 2 and a blue, you get a legendary creature, Human Wizard, that is a rare. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell from your hand, you may cast up to 1 target card from the other type from your graveyard. If the spell cast from your graveyard this way would be put into your graveyard, exile it instead. Choose a background, and he is a 1/3. Barakos, Party Leader, for 3 and a black, you get a legendary creature, Orc, that is a mythic. Barakos Party Leader is also a cleric, rogue, warrior, and wizard. Whenever Barakos attacks, defending player loses X life, and you create X treasure tokens, where X is the number of creatures in your party. Choose a background, and he's a 2/4. Wild, Blade of Frontiers, for 1 and a red, you get a legendary creature, Human Warlock, that is a rare. If you would roll 1 or more dice, instead roll that many plus 1 and ignore the lower roll. Whenever you roll 1 or more dice, put a 1/1 counter on Wild Blade of Frontiers, choose a background, and he's a 1/1. Wilson, Refined Grizzly, for 1 and a green, you get a legendary creature, Bear Warrior, that is an uncommon. This spell can't be countered. He has Vigilance, Reach, and Trample, and Ward 2. He has Choose a Background, and he's a 2/2. So you're probably thinking, It says choose a background, but what is a background? I mean, background is a card type that says enchantment background that goes with your commander, and here are a few examples of them on screen now. Folk Hero, for 1 and a white you get a legendary enchantment background that is a mythic. Commander creatures you own have whenever you cast a spell that shares a creature type with the creature, draw a card. This ability only triggers once per turn. Clan Crafter, for 1 and a blue you get a legendary enchantment background that is a mythic. Commander creatures you own have tap 2, sacrifice an artifact, put a 1/1 counter on this creature and draw a card. Haunted One, for 2 and a black you get a legendary enchantment background that is a mythic. Commander creatures you own have whenever this creature becomes tapped, it and other creatures you control that share a creature type with it get +2/+0 and gains undying until end of turn. Passionate Archaeologist, for 1 and a red you get a legendary enchantment background that is a mythic. Commander creatures you own have whenever you cast a spell from exile, this creature deals damage equal to the mana value to target opponent. Raised by Giants, for 5 and a green you get a legendary enchantment background that is a rare. Commander creatures you own have base power and toughness 10/10 and are giants in additional to their other types. So you're probably wondering, how does this work when it comes to being your commander? So the creature is the primary card that says choose a background, which is one colour of your deck. The other one is an enchantment that goes next to it, which can be the other colour of your deck. You can pick the same colour. So for example, if you want a white creature and a blue enchantment background, your deck will be white-blue. And most or all, just from the top of my head, all the enchantments say it helps your commander. So commander cards you have can do blank, and that's what the deck is supposed to do. So it's up to you what you do, and you're allowed to have the colors of the background or the choose a background creature in your library. So now we're on the final part of this class. I'm going to give a few examples of how you can rather buy or build your own commander deck using these variations. So firstly, you can just buy the commander decks. I think it started 2014 and then 2019. So if you're writing commander decks, there's many versions you can buy, and they're really good if you're brand new at the game to start when you don't have many cards yourself. The next are sets. You can buy a set box or look for a set itself with cards you enjoy or what you think you will enjoy, and most of them will be legendary creatures. But for example, if you buy Baldur's Gate, you're able to have legendary creatures, you're able to have planeswalkers, you're able to have choose a background and background. So it's a very good starter set if you want to get starting in Commander. The next is singles. I know most of my audience is American, so I think it's TCG Player, where over here it's Card Market, where you're allowed to buy a legendary creature, planeswalker, companion, whichever card your heart desires when it comes to the deck you're thinking of making. However, when I say all of this when it comes to the Commander class, I'm just telling you kind of the rules and regulations when it comes to the games. However, there is a thing called a Rule 0. So if you have a play group or friends or in your local game shop and you play there, and you kind of say before the game starts, here, I have a commander deck, however it's not a legendary creature or it's a planeswalker that says it's not able to be your commander, however I built the deck that I want for fun. When it comes to Rule 0, it's kind of saying before the game starts, whoever you're playing with, rather it be your friend group, a new friend group, or your local game shop, or to playing online with strangers, it's really good to say at the start, before anyone's picked their commander or anything, that you can go, here, it's not a legendary creature or a planeswalker that says it can be my commander. I wanted to build this deck for fun. Can I play it out? Majority of the time I find a lot of people are cool with what you do as long as you say it before the game actually starts. So that's what Rule 0 kind of is. When it comes to classes like this, when I can say what can and cannot be your commander, depending on your play group, they might let you away with what you can use as your commander. And as always, I enjoy making these classes, so please like, subscribe and follow and share me all over social media. I want to try and get really good at Magic the Gathering content, and I need your help to grow. So that's this class done, and next class I will be talking about planeswalkers. So I'll be giving different variations. I know you've probably seen some before, but I'll be giving you the rundown of planeswalkers in general. So I hope to see you in next Commanders class.